Welcome to the Deconstructionist Deep Dive, the podcast that doesn't just accept the story.
We break it
We examine the pieces.
and expose the machinery inside.
Let's dive in.
What if everything about the relentless pursuit of wealth and success isn't just wrong, but is designed to be wrong?
So today we're doing something a bit different. We're not just looking at, a single book or one influencer's latest rant.
No, we're actually cracking open what looks like an entire operating system for existence, or at least how some people frame it. It's being called the entrepreneurial Grandmaster Ideology.
Yeah, and our sources lay this out as this really comprehensive, 30-point framework. And it seems designed almost explicitly for perpetual striving, nonstop.
And the reason we're calling this a deep dive is because this system, it doesn't just offer you tips. It's not just advice.
No, it demands a complete rewiring of how you see everything, the world, yourself, even the people around you.
We found that the whole structure seems to be built on just a handful of, frankly, unproven ideas. Unquestioned truths they call axioms.
Right, the axioms. They're like the philosophical bedrock of the whole machine.
And here's the insidious part. If you buy into those axioms, even unconsciously,
then the behaviors, the commands as they're called, they just seem logical. You're almost compelled to adopt them.
it's a closed loop. Almost perfectly engineered, it seems, to keep you constantly doing, constantly striving, no matter the actual results.
Like an immune system for the mind, maybe, designed to keep critical thinking out.
Exactly. So our mission today, let's inject the antivirus. Let's deconstruct this thing.
Okay, let's start at the very base layer then, the core code. How does this ideology define what it even means to be human? What's the fundamental nature of existence according to this system?
That takes us straight to Axiom 10. We've labeled it the Perpetual Game.
The Perpetual Game.
And the axiom is, well, it's brutally simple. Human existence is fundamentally competitive gameplay. Full stop.
Wow. Not collaboration, not shared experience, not creativity, just competition.
Just competition. And here's the kicker, the really chilling part. Money serves as the sole quantifiable score tracking mechanism.
The sole score. Think about that. Think about the psychological impact of that for a second. If money is the only thing that counts.
What happens to everything else?
Exactly. Art, kindness, learning for its own sake. Maybe just the simple joy of doing something well.
Irrelevant, because they aren't easily quantifiable in dollars. They don't directly increase your score in the game.
So if you, the listener, choose to pursue something outside that narrow track of capital accumulation, this ideology basically brands you a non-player.
Or worse, a loser. Someone who just doesn't get it.
It leaves absolutely no room for fulfillment that isn't, competitive.
Right. If you're sitting on your porch enjoying a sunset, you're losing points. Reading a book just for pleasure. Losing.
Because those activities don't directly boost the score, it demands this kind of total, relentless commitment to chasing competitive capital.
And think about the next step. If life is just this aggressive, high-stakes game, and money is the only score,
then every single person you meet, they stop being a person, don't they? They become, what, a piece on the board?
Precisely, a strategic asset, or an opponent. Which leads us right into Axiom 8, Transactional Altruism.
Transactional altruism, that sounds contradictory.
It is. The assertion here is that all human interaction is, and actually must be, reduced to a strategic investment.
So kindness isn't a moral good, it's just a deposit.
A deposit, demanding a future, calculated return on investment, an ROI.
Wow, the source material actually uses the phrase weaponizes virtue ethics.
It does. You're not being generous or supportive because you feel a connection or maybe a sense of duty. No, you're being strategic.
You're putting social capital into an account
that you fully intend to withdraw from later, with interest, preferably.
Let's make that concrete. How would that play out?
Okay, imagine a founder steeped in this ideology. They make a big donation to a local school. Looks like philanthropy, right?
On the surface, yes. Good PR.
But under Axiom 8, the real driver isn't education. It's the potential ROI, the favorable press, maybe a tax break.
Or access. Access to the wealthy parents on the school board who might be future investors or clients.
Exactly. And if that ROI calculation showed, say, that the school board connection was weak or the PR wouldn't land right,
the donation probably wouldn't happen. The action is entirely conditional on the calculated return.
And that conditionality, that's the poison pill for trust, isn't it?
Absolutely. How can you build a genuine, non-instrumental relationship if you suspect the other person is just running the numbers on your future utility?
You can't. trust just erodes. There's no space for actions done purely out of care or loyalty or just basic human decency.
It's all just a spreadsheet calculation.
And who's running the spreadsheet? Who's the master calculator?
The radically isolated individual, which brings us to axiom 13, radical self-sovereignty.
Right. This one demands that only the individual's goals matter, setting your own targets, your own definition of winning.
And it requires, doesn't it, a total dismissal of anything outside that. Relational ethics, community obligations, maybe even family responsibilities, if they dilute the mission.
If they dilute the pure focus on the individual's wealth accumulation goal, yes, they're seen as distractions, noise.
It creates this island of ambition. You are your own nation state, basically, your own moral compass.
But an island can be a pretty precarious place, especially when the ambition demands endless growth, endless scale.
So how does this isolated island achieve scale? By worshiping something else. Efficiency. Predictability.
Which lands us squarely on axiom 15, system supremacy.
System supremacy. Okay, unpack that.
This is the core belief, deeply held, that mechanical, measurable, replicable systems, things like software, processes, algorithms, are inherently superior to messy human stuff.
Superior to human motivation, connection, even like gut feelings or intuition in leadership.
Especially those. The ideology basically says the spreadsheet is smarter than the human gut. The algorithm is more reliable than a shared vision developed through, talking.
And if systems are supreme, then what are people?
Inputs, variables.
Yeah.
Components that need to be managed efficiently within the system.
And that belief, that system supremacy, it sort of necessitates these manipulative behaviors we see later, doesn't it? Like Command 18, paternalistic control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't lead your employees in the traditional sense with empathy and connection. You provide positive distractions.
Like fancy office perks, gamified workflows, things that feel good but are really about managing psychology.
Yes, managing their psychology to ensure they remain productive cogs in your machine, all while making them believe they're acting freely, that they love the culture.
It's control disguised as empowerment or culture.
It removes the need for actual vulnerable leadership, which requires empathy, connection, and replaces it with predictable psychological management, purely aimed at optimizing output.
Okay, so we have the game, the transactional relationships, the isolated individual, the supreme system. But why would anyone buy into this in the first place? It sounds bleak.
Well, every operating system needs an attractive login screen. A justification. That's the hook. Axiom 5. The illusion of opportunity.
The illusion of opportunity. This is the historical exceptionalism claim.
Precisely. The idea that it has never been easier in all of human history to become a millionaire. Or a billionaire, depending on who's talking.
And that claim is incredibly powerful, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
its function is purely ideological.
Purely. It actively suppresses any kind of structural analysis. Think about it. If you, the listener, truly accept that getting rich is easy right now.
Then if you're not rich, it can only be your fault.
Exactly. Your lack of effort, your laziness, your strategy wasn't clever enough. It cannot possibly be the system itself.
It's a brilliant piece of psychological architecture in a dark way. It blames the victim for systemic issues. It shields the system itself from any real scrutiny.
It diverts all critique away from things like wealth concentration or barriers to entry and puts it squarely on personal inadequacy.
So even if the game board is fundamentally tilted, if you believe it's level and easy, you just blame yourself for not playing better.
That's the foundation. Life's a game, people are assets, systems are king, and if you're losing, it's on you because the game's supposedly wide open.
Okay, so those are the unquestioned axioms, the philosophical code. Now, how does the system actually program the user? How does it dictate behavior?
Right. If the axioms are the core code, the commands are the executable files. They tell you not just what to do, but crucially, how you need to rewrite your internal monologue, your very identity, to serve the system.
Where does that programming start?
It starts with the self. Command 2 is identity construction.
Identity construction.
Yeah.
So not discovering who you are, but building who you are.
Building it to be marketable. It's a highly performative imperative. You must curate a personal brand. Your identity isn't intrinsic. It's a product to be packaged and sold.
And you have to choose from specific approved categories, right? Like entrepreneur, investor, influencer.
Those are the main ones, yes. If your real passions are, say, being a poet or a historian or a community organizer,
they either have to be twisted into something monetizable within those categories or they're dismissed as hobbies, irrelevant to your real identity.
your worth becomes completely tied to your market position. Identity as commodity.
Okay, so you've built this marketable identity. What next? How does the system keep you running?
You need a mechanism to ensure you never, ever rest on your laurels. That's Command 9, upward comparison.
Upward comparison, so constantly looking at people doing better.
Mandatory, constant benchmarking against wealth superiors, the titans, the grandmasters, the people way ahead on that money scoreboard.
But hang on, isn't looking up to people sometimes, healthy? Isn't aspiration good for growth? Where does this ideology draw the line?
The line is the intent behind it. The source material is quite explicit here. This mechanism, specifically labeled Node 9, is deliberately engineered to guarantee perpetual dissatisfaction.
Perpetual dissatisfaction, not just temporary motivation.
No. Healthy ambition might stop when you reach a goal. This system requires you to actively dismiss your peers or anyone below you, so your gaze is always, always fixed on an ever-receding higher benchmark.
So the striving is the point, not actually arriving anywhere.
Exactly. The second you achieve parity with whoever you were comparing yourself to last month, the system demands you find new, richer, more successful comparisons. It's a psychological treadmill designed so you can never step off.
And that constant state of feeling inadequate, that must be necessary, right, to justify the next step.
It's absolutely necessary, because it primes you to adopt the instrumental lens required for the next set of commands, the ones governing how you interact with every other human being.
Okay, this is where it gets really ruthlessly practical. Command 7, perceptual engineering.
Perceptual engineering. It's an explicit instruction. Adopt an instrumental lens.
Meaning you have to view other people. How?
Solely as resources for your own gain. They are tools, potential clients, useful connections, stepping stones, or obstacles. Nothing more.
That's the cognitive restructuring you mentioned. Training yourself to ignore the human context, the emotional reality, and focus only on utility.
Pure utility. If someone cannot directly contribute to your capital accumulation goals, the system defines them as, at best, a distraction. At worst, a cost, a drain on your resources.
Which then institutionalizes that coldness through Node 14, odds-based relationships.
Odds-based relationships. You literally restructure how you think about connection. It's not about emotion, it's about probability.
So you're calculating what? The odds that someone will benefit your wealth or your status or your network down the line.
Precisely. And if those calculated odds are low,
the relationship is disposable. Cut ties, optimize your network.
It turns every handshake into a potential transaction. Every friendly chat becomes a probe for utility.
And this mindset must justify other behaviors too, like Command 13, social insulation.
Absolutely. Social insulation frames any relational concerns, maybe friends or family expressing worry or suggesting balance as merely naysayer interference.
Anyone questioning the relentless pursuit, the game, becomes a threat to your probability equation.
And must be excluded for optimal performance. Don't let their negativity drag down your metrics.
It's like the ideology provides this perfect logical armor against empathy, doesn't it? If you're being ruthless, you tell yourself you're not being cruel.
You're just being logical, rational. The numbers demanded it. It wasn't personal.
And does this instrumental view extend beyond people to things like knowledge?
Oh, absolutely. Command 21 is instrumental education.
Instrumental education, meaning you go to university not to learn, but to
network. Extract contacts. The value of a degree or an institution isn't the intellectual growth it offers. It's the Rolodex you build there, the potential future partners or clients you meet in class.
So even the mind itself is just another resource to be optimized for capital accumulation. Learning is only valuable if it directly translates to a higher score.
Knowledge for its own sake. A waste of time, according to this system. You attend seminars to find leads, not to actually challenge your own thinking.
Okay, these commands are incredibly logical in a chilling way, but they're also very cold. How does the system actually motivate people to do all this? Humans aren't pure logic machines.
They aren't. And ill systems don't inspire action. They need fuel, fire. So the ideology employs a highly calibrated rhetorical engine. It runs on emotion.
Okay. So it manipulates emotions to drive adoption and keep people locked in. What's the sequence?
It seems engineered. You start with the hook. Greed, Node 4, and envy, Node 6.
Greed and envy, the carrots.
Exactly. Show people what they don't have, the lifestyle, the status, the score, then dangle the promise that they could have it, if only they commit to playing the game by these rules.
So that gets you in the door, but how does it keep you loyal, especially when things inevitably get tough?
Then the system switches fuel types. It maintains loyalty through hero worship, Node 11.
Idolizing the successful grandmasters who preach the system, seeing them as proof it works.
Yes, and also pride, Node 24. The pride of believing you're one of the special few, the enlightened ones who understand the real machinery of success
Yeah.
that everyone else is too naive or lazy to see.
And what about doubt? Because surely people using this system face setbacks, failures, moments where they question if it's all worth it.
That's where the crucial psychological backstop comes in. Social proof, Node 25.
Social proof, like testimonials, success stories.
Exactly. The Albert narrative, as the source calls it, the story of the successful protege, the disciple who followed the commands perfectly and achieved the promised results. This story is constantly deployed.
As tangible proof of concept to show it can be done.
Yes, reinforcing the hope, Node 25, that success is inevitable if you just stick to the rules, if you just optimize harder. It's an essential reassurance mechanism. It keeps the engine running when the user is feeling exhausted or disillusioned.
Wow. It really is a comprehensive system covering philosophy, behavior, identity, relationships, even emotional manipulation.
It is. But now that we've seen the machinery, it's time to apply the scalpel. Let's expose where the logic breaks down, where the whole elaborate structure starts to wobble.
Because when you pull this ideology out of the echo chamber, out of the motivational seminar and into the harsh light of, rigorous analysis,
It starts to collapse.
Yeah.
Let's begin with the central metaphor itself, the defining image, the Grandmaster delusion, Node 1.
the Grandmaster delusion, that chess analogy.
It's the core argument, and it rests on a fundamentally flawed comparison, a false equivalence between chess and the sheer messiness of business or life.
How so? What's the key difference?
Chess is a closed system. The rules are fixed, finite, completely known by both players. The board is visible. The pieces move in predictable ways. The outcome is determined purely by skill within those known constraints.
But the real world, it's anything but a closed system.
Right.
It's chaos, unpredictability.
Exactly. Business, life, they're
Yeah.
defined by existential unpredictability. Black swan events. You cannot reliably plan 15 moves ahead like a chess grandmaster when.
When a global pandemic hits, or a war breaks out, or some disruptive technology completely upends your entire industry overnight.
Right. Those events fundamentally change the rules, the pieces, even the board itself. A grandmaster assumes control over a known system. In reality, you're constantly reacting to forces entirely outside your control.
And this illusion of perfect control, this grandmaster fantasy, it feeds into the ideology's biggest blind spot, doesn't it?
Its greatest structural blind spot.
Yeah.
It actively denies systemic barriers. It insists that if you just plan better, think more rationally, you can overcome anything.
It completely ignores the reality that the board itself might be rigged from the start. Inherited wealth, entrenched power structures, regulatory capture.
All irrelevant in this view. You might be a brilliant strategist, but if the game starts with half your pieces already taken off the board due to factors like your background or identity, well, your brilliant 15-move plan doesn't mean much.
And that vulnerability, that denial of structural reality, it links straight back to that crucial entry point we discussed earlier.
Axiom 5, the ease of wealth contradiction. This is the second major logical failure point.
And it relies entirely on just faulty data interpretation, ignoring the numbers.
It's pure survivorship bias, weaponized. The ideology works by constantly highlighting the winners, the outliers, the exceptions who made it despite the odds.
While completely ignoring the vast silent majority who try the same game and fail, or who never even get a chance to play because of systemic disadvantages.
Exactly. They're invisible in this narrative. And this isn't just a philosophical debate. It's directly contradicted by hard economic data.
Data showing persistent, actually increasing wealth concentration in many places, and decreasing social mobility.
Yes. We are objectively living in an era where it's becoming harder for many people to move up economically. The system requires its followers to wear ideological blinders.
Blinders to ignore fundamental barriers related to race, gender, class, things that demonstrably limit who even gets to participate meaningfully in this easy game.
The ideology offers no coherent answer to why the winners tend to look suspiciously similar over time, other than resorting to, well, everyone else must be lazy or stupid.
There's another vulnerability you mentioned, one that feels very current. The myth of technology as utopia, Node 23.
Ah, yes, the social media equalizer narrative.
Yeah.
The claim that platforms like Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, they offer this perfectly level playing field.
Where anyone, theoretically, can build a brand and rise to the top based purely on the merit of their content and hustle.
That's the techno-utopian promise. But it ignores several rather harsh realities.
Like what? What does it miss?
First, it ignores algorithmic bias. These platforms are not neutral. Their algorithms favor certain types of content, often reward established players, require huge amounts of time and resources to win, and can amplify sensationalism or simplistic positivity that fits the identity construction mold.
So it's not a level playing field algorithmically.
Not at all. And second, perhaps more critically, it completely glosses over the severe mental health costs.
Costs associated with that constant mandatory upward comparison, Node 9, and the performance anxiety.
Yes, the pressure of having to perpetually optimize yourself, brand yourself, perform your success 24/7 for the algorithm and the audience, when your sense of self-worth gets tied directly to engagement metrics.
Every moment you're not performing, not posting, not optimizing, feels like a failure.
Exactly. And the system's blindness here feels almost cynical.
Yeah.
It obscures the fundamental exploitation built into the attention economy.
How so? It reframes it as.
It reframes your endless participation, churning out content, chasing likes, performing this manufactured identity as an opportunity. Your opportunity to win the game.
When in reality, it's intense, often unpaid, unregulated labor. Labor that primarily enriches the platform owners and the advertisers.
You're told you're the grandmaster of your own brand, but actually, you're the product. Willingly submitting yourself to the metrics that control you, chasing a score defined by others.
So the Grandmaster isn't really mastering the game at all. They're mastering the art of being.
What?
A perfectly disciplined, self-exploiting laborer for a much larger, often invisible machine.
A machine built on shaky logic, faulty analogies, and a denial of reality. That's what our analysis suggests.
Okay, so if the logic is flawed and the psychological cost is high, how do we actually break free? How do we liberate our minds from this framework?
The first step is crucial.
Yeah.
Recognizing that this whole Grandmaster ideology, it's not some universal law of nature. It's not the truth.
It's just one contingent, manufactured worldview among many potential others.
Exactly. So we need to actively bring in counter-perspectives, alternative philosophies that expose just how artificial and, frankly, unnecessary its rules really are.
Where should we start that challenge?
Let's start by attacking the root of its interpersonal toxicity. Transactional morality, axiom 8, the ROI-driven view of human connection.
Okay, so we contrast that with systems that actually value selfless contribution, like Buddhism.
Precisely. Think about the Buddhist practice of dana, selfless giving.
It's done as a purification practice, isn't it? Entirely separate from expecting anything back, even good karma.
The moral benefit is internal. It resides purely in the act itself, the act of non-attachment, of generosity. It's the spiritual antithesis of the strategic investment mindset.
Or we could look at Western philosophy, Kantian ethics.
A great counterpoint. Kant argues that an action only has true moral worth if it's done purely from a sense of duty, completely detached from any anticipated outcome or personal gain.
So the moment you start calculating the ROI, the moment you ask, what's in it for me?
The moral worth evaporates, according to Kant. This entrepreneurial system effectively demands that you operate in a way that strips your actions of intrinsic moral worth.
And connecting this back to the system level, our sources mention a Foucaultian analysis. How does that fit?
Foucault would likely see this entire framework of the axioms, the commands, as a sophisticated technique of self-discipline.
Meaning you're not disciplined by some external boss, but by the rules you've internalized.
Exactly. You internalize the imperative to constantly accelerate capital accumulation. You become your own efficiency expert, your own performance manager, constantly measuring and optimizing the self, punishing yourself for not meeting the manufactured metrics.
It's like a self-imposed prison of performance.
A very effective one. Next, let's challenge the engine that powers that prison, the anxiety of perpetual striving, axiom 10.
Right. The idea that life is just endless competition. How do we counter that? With philosophies that seek harmony instead.
Harmony, flow, acceptance. Look at Taoism, for example, and the concept of wu-wei.
Often translated as effortless action, but it doesn't mean being lazy, does it?
Not at all. It means acting in harmony with the natural flow of things, with the Tao, rejecting forced effort, manufactured momentum, constant optimization, and that desperate striving against the current.
It asks, what if success isn't something you aggressively chase down, but something you align yourself with naturally? A radically different approach.
Or consider Stoicism. A core tenet is that virtue is its own reward. True worth lies in your internal character, your judgment, your rational responses.
Which makes you indifferent to external scores or competitive outcomes.
Utterly indifferent. If your work is internal, secure within yourself, then the system's scoreboard, your bank balance, your follower count becomes fundamentally irrelevant to your self-respect and peace of mind.
Okay, and finally, We absolutely have to dismantle the lie of radical individualism, Axiom 13, and that chillingly cold, odds-based relationship model, Node 14.
This is where the ideology might be most destructive socially, because it systematically undermines the possibility of genuine community. It elevates the isolated, calculating actor as the ideal.
So we contrast that profound isolation with philosophies that put relationships first, like feminist care ethics.
Exactly. Care ethics fundamentally argues that relationships, interdependence, mutual obligations, these aren't secondary concerns, they are the very foundation of moral life.
Our responsibilities stem from our interconnectedness, not from a cold calculation of personal advantage. Relationships are where moral reality happens.
Or think about the powerful African concept embedded in Ubuntu philosophy. I am, because we are.
Before we get too academic with that, what does relational ontology mean in plain terms? How is it different from just saying friends are important?
Good question. Ontology is the study of being, of existence itself. So relational ontology means your very identity, who you fundamentally are, is formed, defined, and exists through your community, your relationships, your reciprocal obligations.
It's the direct philosophical opposite of Node 14, the odds-based relationship. You're not an isolated island calculating probabilities.
You are fundamentally part of a web. Ubuntu says your dignity, your very being, is inextricably linked to the dignity and well-being of your community.
While the Grandmaster ideology says your dignity is linked purely to your individual score, your bank balance.
The sheer variety and depth of these alternative philosophies just highlights how contrived, how narrow, and ultimately how unnecessary the competitive, isolated worldview really is. It's a choice, not a necessity.
So we've deconstructed the system, we've poked holes in the logic, we've shown there are radically different ways to view the world and our place in it. But the big question remains, if this ideology is so flawed, so toxic, why is it so prevalent? Who actually benefits from people adopting this mindset of perpetual striving?
That's the critical power analysis. And when you dig into it, you see this isn't some brand new, innovative idea. It's largely a repackaging, a modern synthesis of much older control mechanisms. It draws heavily on historical justifications for hierarchy.
Like what? What are the historical precedents?
Well, that idea that wealth is a sign of inherent goodness or divine favor, that links straight back to certain interpretations of Calvinist predestination. You're successful, therefore you must be one of the chosen, the elect. You're rich, therefore you must be morally upright.
Which echoes Axiom 5, the illusion of opportunity. If you fail, it's a moral failing.
Precisely. And the relentless competitive struggle defined in Axiom 10. That's basically social Darwinism applied to the marketplace. The fittest businesses and entrepreneurs survive and thrive. The failures are just evolutionary dead ends, the naysayers who couldn't hack it.
And the obsession with systems, Axiom 15, system supremacy.
That's a direct descendant of Taylorism and scientific management from the early 20th century, reducing complex human work and interaction down to mechanical, repeatable, measurable processes, all optimized for maximum output and profit. Humans as cogs.
So it's old wine in new bottles, essentially, using these historical control ideas. Who benefits today when someone adopts this entire Grandmaster ideology?
The beneficiaries are pretty clear, and they tend to be existing power structures. First, it clearly benefits capital.
The owners of businesses, the investors?
How? By creating a workforce and a consumer base that is hyper-competitive, constantly self-optimizing, and self-policing. The Grandmaster adherent internalizes the rules and enforces them on themselves, maximizing their productivity and consumption for the benefit of the overall economic system without needing external force.
Okay, so capital benefits. Who else?
Arguably, it also benefits certain patriarchal structures.
How so? That seems less obvious.
By reinforcing instrumental, non-relational ways of interacting. The emphasis on cold calculation, ruthlessness, dismissing messy emotions or relational concerns, Command 13, social insulation, these align well with traditional, often masculine-coded models of detached, results-oriented power. It devalues care, community, and collaborative approaches often associated with feminist or non-patriarchal frameworks.
That makes sense. It privileges a certain style of operating. And you mentioned a third beneficiary.
Yes, and this is crucial. It benefits the state, or perhaps more accurately, the established political and economic status quo.
How does focusing on individual success benefit the state?
By diverting attention. If all individual energy and focus is channeled into self-optimization, into playing this demanding individual game,
then you're less likely to focus on collective problems or demand systemic change.
Exactly. It completely diverts critical attention away from the need for structural reforms, for addressing systemic inequalities, or for holding powerful institutions accountable. You're too busy trying to execute your own 15-move plan to realize the fundamental rules of the entire game might be rigged and need changing. The focus is always internal. You must adapt. You must optimize.
Wow. So the ideology serves capital, potentially patriarchal norms, and the existing political economic order by keeping individuals focused inward on a game they likely can't win on its terms.
That's the argument. But who pays the price for upholding this system?
It has to be the adherent, the person trying to live by these rules. The psychological cost seems immense.
It's severe, and it seems almost inevitable based on the system's own design. That engine of perpetual dissatisfaction constantly fueled by upward comparison, Note 9.
It guarantees you never feel good enough. You never reach a point of sustainable satisfaction or peace. The goalposts just keep moving.
Leading to chronic anxiety, stress, burnout. The striving is literally endless by design.
And then there's the profound emotional isolation. That odds-based relationship calculus, Node 14, actively prevents genuine connection.
How can you be truly authentic, truly vulnerable with someone you are simultaneously evaluating as a resource or a probability equation? You can't. You end up trapped in a kind of optimized loneliness.
And what about the self, that identity construction command too?
That leads to inevitable identity fragmentation. The manufactured market identity, the polished entrepreneur, the savvy investor is constantly clashing with your authentic self, your real values, your deeper needs.
Which must create this deep gnawing dissonance. You're performing a version of success rather than actually experiencing genuine fulfillment.
And that brings us to the ultimate synthesis, the core central deception of this entire ideology, which is the lie that human worth, human dignity, fundamental meaning in life are contingent upon your performance in this competitive market game, contingent upon your wealth accumulation, your score.
That your value as a person depends on how well you play by these specific, arbitrary rules.
That's the final totalizing hook. And if we can reject that contingency, that's where liberation begins.
So cognitive liberation starts with explicitly rejecting the game metaphor altogether.
Yes. Consciously reframe life. Not as a zero-sum competition, but perhaps as collective flourishing, shared contribution, seeking relational depth.
And are there practical alternatives, ways to live and work outside this Grandmaster mindset?
Absolutely. They're already being built, often quietly, in the shadow of this dominant ideology. Things like cooperative economics, worker-owned businesses, for example, that prioritize democratic control and shared benefit over hierarchical scaling and profit maximization above all else.
Or community wealth-building initiatives.
Exactly. Focusing on local, rooted development, building wealth that stays within a community and benefits its members mutually, instead of the relentless pursuit of speed, scale, and optimization, Note 17, for the benefit of distant external capital.
So the liberatory alternative is actually quite simple, conceptually.
Simple and profound. Human dignity is inherent. It's not earned through market success. Fulfillment emerges from authentic connection, from contributing to your community in meaningful ways, from aligning your life with values that exist entirely outside the cold logic of capital.
You don't need this toxic operating system to find meaning or worth.
You just need to recognize it for what it is and choose to shut it down.
And that's our deep dive for this week.
Remember, the most dangerous illusion is the one you don't know you're in.
But now you know. So here's our question for you. Now that we've torn apart the Grandmaster mentality, what is the one idea about success that you've held on to that you're finally ready to put on the chopping block?
Let us know in the comments. Question the narrative. Deconstruct the dogma. See the system.
We'll see you next time. Stay skeptical. Thank you for joining us.